I'm reading a really good book. It's like a manifesto by this guy Andreas Malm, How to Blow Up a Pipeline. I was reading it on the plane when I was flying back to the U.S. I think that maybe made some people a little bit anxious, but nonetheless, it's just like it's a manifesto for the environmentalist left. Like basically, if the environmentalist left really believes its own rhetoric, which obviously it ought to, about the severity of the climate crisis, it's time to really meaningfully take action to dismantle sort of fossil capital, so forth. But if you look at like the plans that are in place that, different sort of oil companies, gas companies, whatever, and this is, even before Ukraine, plans that are in place, it's basic. Everybody knows, and, these governments are, more or less on board with it. Everybody knows that just the projects that are planned right now, are going to heat the planet up more than, what we can sort of sustain, and then you start having these tipping points and really enormous shit starts to happen. Here again, the solution to that is not, let's arrest, shoot, or otherwise, harass and attack indigenous people, or like really, really impoverished, marginalized people who want to chop down trees to cultivate charcoal at like a subsistence level in the Congo. Like these are not the people who are behind the climate crisis. These are not the forces that are behind, the crisis in biodiversity. They just aren't. And so it's a really enormous sort of 3-card trick to frame all of our solutions around them. And, there's one of the biggest partisans of all this shit is Leonardo DiCaprio, actually. He's the biggest supporter of this other park in Congo called Virunga National Park, which there's shiny Netflix documentary about it that I think he was the producer on.
Oh, Brace, you got to stop hanging out with him.
I know. Sorry, I gotta leave. You know what? I hereby right now resign from the Pussy Possum.
Oh my God, I knew you were gonna do that.
Yeah. And that when you guys are like arguing about sectarian minutiae, you and Leonardo DiCaprio, these days I'm more of an anarcho-syndicalist, Leo.
But anyway, he should be in prison for that.
Yeah. But anyway, you've got this other park, Virunga. It's literally run by a Belgian prince, this guy called Emmanuel Demerode. And Leo's an enormous supporter of this park. And there was this big documentary, like I mentioned, made about it. And there's a really interesting scene in this documentary because the Belgian prince is sort of sitting there with one of his main deputies in the park, and they're talking about this British oil company that wants to come in to exploit the natural resources in the park. And Demerode says, we're not going to win this battle by blocking them from entering or using our weapons. We're going to win this battle by documenting everything. I think it's really interesting because that's not the approach that park takes to people who make less than $1 a day, who want to sort of go into the park because it's land that they've cultivated for generations. The approach taken with them is use the guns, shoot people, arrest them, send them to prison, so forth. But when it's oil companies, now we got to, we're not going to win that battle like that. So it's a really good example of sort of the double standard here. Like if there were a militarized conservation that's like just let's radically oppose the forces that are actually behind the climate crisis, where the fuck do I sign up? Like I'm down for that. This isn't that. This is just violence against, people in the global south on the other side of Du Bois' color line, violence against marginalized and indigenous people as a tokenistic solution so people in Frankfurt can alleviate their crisis of conscience over the fact that fossil capital is immolating the planet,
Jeffrey Epstein.